Hi, this is GAC 022, Assessment Event 3, International Business Marketing, KAVAK Overseas. My name is Roberto Trejo Espinosa de los Monteros, and my student number is SNI 56832. Well, let's start. Today, I will talk you about through our strategic international expansion proposal for KAVAK, one of Latin America's most successful car-used platforms. As part of our international business course, we analyzed KAVAK's potential entry into two exciting, existing and fast-growing markets, Turkey and Indonesia. We will examine the conditions in each market, how KAVAK can position itself competitively, and why we recommend Turkey as a priority for expansion. Well, our journey today, we will follow this following agenda. We will start with a quick introduction to KAVAK and the motivation behind this project. Then I'll explain the methodology and how we used the data collection and analysis. Then our postal analysis for both Indonesia and Turkey. Next, a review of strategies from local players like Carlos Pondocan and Carson. And then we will examine the marketing mix for each market. I will tell you about some interviews I make from real consumers and experts. And finally, we will have a conclusion and recommendation. And at the end, we will have a short Q&A section. Well, to begin, KAVAK is a tech-driven company from Mexico that has established in Mexico and in Latin America. The people we use and how people use their cars. Its mission is simple and powerful to create safe, efficient, and digital experience for used cars transactions. KAVAK is not just an online marketplace. It manages vehicles inspection, financing, legal paperwork, and delivery. It's essentially a full-stack solution in an industry often dominated by informal dealers and peer-to-peer sales. With this model, KAVAK has successfully scaled across Latin America. Now, with strong founding, over 700 million raised, it's ready to expand overseas. There's where our project comes in to identify and some assets, the best path forward the international expansion. Well, the methodology. For a project of this scale, we knew it's essential to use a multi-source approach. We used both primary and secondary research methods. From secondary resources, we gathered macroeconomic and industry data from Statsia, McKinsey, Landmark, and other incredible platforms. This helped us understand things like market size, customer behavior, and digital trends. Also, we conclude interviews. Our primary research method. We spoke with customers and local experts in both Turkey and Indonesia. I look up on some platforms that this information was given. This conversation gave us an on-the-ground view of trust issues, online purchasing habits, and cultural expansions that numbers alone can explain. By combining this hard data with personal insights, we were able to form a balanced, realistic picture of each market. Well, my pestle analysis of Indonesia. Let's start with Indonesia with a population over 270 million million. Indonesia in Southeast Asia largest economy. It's a mobile first nation, meaning most online interactions happen through smartphones. Politically, the government supports digital growth through bureaucracy remains an issue. Economically, there's a growing middle class and increased urbanization. However, the informal economy is still strong, especially in car sales. Socially, trust a major hurdle. Customers are used to face-to-face transactions and often rely on personal networks or word of mouth. Technologically, infrastructure is improving, but payment systems are logistics and still catching up. And from a legal standpoint, import regulations are strict and customer protection laws are evolving but inconsistently enforced. In short, Indonesia offers great potential but carries high operational risk, especially around logistics and customer trust. Well, now I'm going to talk about the personalities of Turkey. Turkey presents a different set of characteristics. While it has fewer people than Indonesia, it is a higher urban density, especially in cities like Istanbul, Ankara, and Izmir, making logistics and research more manageable. Politically, there's some instability, but governmental support digital business innovation. Economically, the country has suffered from inflation and currency violation, but car demand remains high. Many customers are turning to used cars as a new ones become less affordable. Socially, there's a strong there's a strong car culture, and people are more comfortable with online shopping, especially among younger generations. Technologically, internet penetration is high, and solutions are widespread. Luckily, Turkey has stricter regulations than Indonesia, but the system is more structured and enforceable, especially in urban markets. Overall, Turkey offers a slightly more mature and stable and digitally ready market. Well, a competitive landscape in Turkey is Karos.com. One of the key players in Turkey used car markets is Karos.com. Their strategy is highly digital. They use AI pricing tools and have created financial options through Turkish banks. What makes them successful in their ability to blend tech with trust? Their reputation is strong and they forced on building credibility through consistent service and transparent inspections. For KAVAK, this sets, this sets the standard. We would need to meet or extend the benchmark to compete effectively. The competitive landscape in Indonesia is Carson. In contrast, Carson in Indonesia faces very different challenges. They focus more on influence marketing and offline presence to build trust. Carson targets middle income buyers and emphasize vehicle certification and return policies. Despite this, customer trust remains low, and operational costs are high due to the geographic spread of islands and logistic concerns. Quebec would need to heavily localize its approach here and invest deeply in the infrastructure and education campaigns to make a better work than Carson. Well, the marketing mix product. In both markets, we propose certificate inspected vehicles with guarantees to build confidence. Price. In Turkey, pricing should be dynamic and supported with easy financing through local banks. In Indonesia, more price transparency and cash payment flexibility would be necessary. Place. KAVAK must adapt a mobile-first approach with physical presence in key cities. Promotion. Turkey calls the search engine and performance based in marketing, while Indonesia would benefit in the local influence and economic and community engagement. This customers mix will give KAVAK the ability to connect with each market audience authentically. Well, the interviews I made. In Indonesia, the interviews often shared a reluctance to buy online due to fear of scams or hidden issues. Many prefer dealing with individuals they know or visiting the car physically before a purchase. In Turkey, we noticed they were more open to using online platforms, especially if the cars came with guarantees, financing options, and clear return policies. These findings reinforce that trust is not a buzzword, it's a make or break factor. Well, to summarize, both countries are promising but require very different strategies. Indonesia has a large population and great long-term potential, but significant short-term barriers, especially around trust, regulation, and logistics. Turkey, while facing inflation and some political uncertainty, offers greater immediate readiness, a dignity active population, higher comfort with online transactions, and more established legal systems. For a company like KAVAK that's trying to scale efficiently, Turkey represents the better opportunity for initial overseas expansion. Well, so what's the recommendation? I propose that KAVAK enters Turkey first. First with AI-powered pricing to stay competitive, from financing partnership with local banks, build a strong digital presence supported by physical hubs, and over time expand the services like subscription, trade-ins, and vehicle upgrades to drive loyalty. By focusing on Turkey first, KAVAK can build a repeatable model for overseas success and consider more complex markets like Indonesia later on. Well, now we have a small section of Q&A. So let's start with the first question.
Why Turkey over Indonesia despite Indonesia's larger market size?
Well, size alone doesn't guarantee success. Turkey offers more digital savvy, consumer based, stronger financial systems, and better infrastructure for scaling quickly. Key factors like for a company like KAVAK looking to grow efficiently.
Okay, how will KAVAK compete with established players like carros.com?
Well, by bringing a full stack solution, inspection, financing, delivery, and warranties, all under one platform, carros.com focuses mainly on pricing and financing. KAVAK can go further by offering a seamless customer experience.
And what are the main risks in Turkey?
Well, the biggest risks are economic volatility and inflation, which could affect pricing power. However, with flexible pricing tools and strong financial partnership, KAVAK can adapt and stay competitive.
What would KAVAK need to do to succeed in Indonesia in the future?
Focus on building trust through certificate cards, return policies, and local influencers. Infrastructure investments, local partnerships, and education campaigns would also be crucial to scale sustainability. Well, thank you.